Shalom. Kahal Yahweh Shemel Shabbat Shemakakodash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of GMS, including the elders that came before them that taught us the truth. Shalom and salutations to all the brothers pushing the word in truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David. All right, so some crazy stuff is going on as they have to plot and get their story straight here, because this is just straight theater at this point. Talking about what they're doing with DJ Trump. Okay. Let's see. Let's get this. Isaiah 10. Let's just start and end here. Isaiah 10 and 1. Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. All right, so this is going into your laws, okay, to these judges. New Living Translation. What sorrow awaits the unjust judges and those who issue unfair laws? When you understand that the justice system, or the laws that are written for the United States of America, are written for criminals to get away with certain behaviors, but then you could turn around and use those same laws because of the judges, right, who are so-called adjudicating, right, and they they apply what they want to apply, when they want to apply it. In other words, these people are just just devils, deceivers, okay? And that's the way that the justice system or the laws were created. When you understand that the United States was founded by a bunch of fucking devils and cutthroats, demons, tyrants, okay? Really what they were doing is they were getting away from Jake, because Jake was in rulership over there in Europe. Okay, why did these Edomites run over here? Because Jake was in rulership over there. All right, if King James was around during the 1600s, right, and is a Jake, then he had some sons and some daughters that carried on the family name, James the Third, James the Fourth, and okay, John and King, all of those kings. Some of them were straight up Jakes, and that's who, right? In 1776, that's not too far away. Who were they running? They were running from the rule of Jake, so they could get over here and see, because like Australia, for example, Australia are the prisoner. It was a prison camp, basically. And basically that's what the United States was too. It was some escaped criminals that got the hell up out of there because they were criminals. They couldn't do things the way they wanted to. So they got over here and wrote a bunch of grievousness, right, so that they could get away with murder. And they're still doing that today. Color of law. What is that? That means that I could do what the fuck I want to. I could, when an Edomite goes in a church and shoots up a bunch of Jakes, we take him directly to McDonald's. Okay, we don't shoot him in the back. We take him to, he gets a reward for that, right? He gets a pat on the wrist. He gets a slap on the wrist, we let him go. Okay? That's what this is about. All right, so when we go to this situation, not that one, this one. When we go to this situation with Trump, right, breaking the law, espionage, How do you sidestep espionage? What is the penalty for treason? Death by firing squad. Okay, so are they going to line up a firing squad and set their sights on DJ Trump for his treason that goes way back? I was watching a video, which we might watch it. Let me see. Let's watch that right now. Let me see if I can find it. I'll go here first. Let me see. I was watching it. It might be in my history. Let me see. Bear with me real quick while I try to pull this out and just listen. Let's see. Right here. Look at this. Report. FBI open probe into whether Trump secretly worked for Russia. Okay? You see these words? With what is going on right now, okay? You read this, right? FBI open probe into whether Trump secretly worked for Russia. MSNBC. Now, when we open up this video, right? Let's open it up. Now let's look at the date.
Washington Bureau.
Look at the date. January 11th, 2019. So when did the FBI open a probe into whether Trump secretly worked for Russia? Guess when? In 2016. Okay? This goes back to 2016. And let's watch the front end of this video. And it's crazy.
Hey everybody, this is Senator John Ossoff.
With what is going on today, right now, this guy, the FBI, ran up into Mar-a-Lago. Wait a minute. This goes back to 20. What was he doing to have this be the headline? And then whatever's going on today, what is that? Listen to this.
All right, breaking news tonight from the New York Times. The FBI opened an inquiry into whether President Trump was secretly working on behalf of Russia.
Okay. This goes back to 2016. And then you have what you have today, stealing documents. For what? Top secret documents. Is he working? Listen to this. Listen to this again. And put the pieces of the puzzle together.
All right, breaking news tonight from the New York Times. The FBI opened an inquiry into whether President Trump was secretly working on behalf of Russia. That's the headline tonight. Here are the stunning opening lines of that report. In the days after President Trump fired James B. Comey as FBI director, law enforcement officials became so concerned by the president's behavior that they began investigating whether he had been working on behalf of Russia against American interests, according to former law enforcement officials and others familiar with the investigation. So what does that actually mean? Well, according to the New York Times, counterintelligence investigators had to consider whether Trump's own actions, quote, constituted a possible threat to national security. Agents also sought to determine whether Mr. Trump was knowingly working for Russia or had unwittingly fallen under Moscow's influence. The New York Times reports that Trump caught the attention of the FBI counterintelligence agents after this moment in the 2016 presidential.
In the 2016 presidential what? Do you hear that language? I wanted to hear 2016. Okay. Listen.
Caught the attention of the FBI counterintelligence agents after this moment in the 2016 presidential election.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
What about the hundreds of top secret documents at Mar-a-Lago, nigga? What are you talking about? Okay, now they're going to go into, oh, well, we started watching him right here because he might be working with Russia. Well, now what do you think after the Mar-a-Lago so-called raid?
And after that, and other alarming incidents during the campaign, the Times says that, quote, law enforcement officials put off the decision to open the investigation until they had learned more, according to people familiar with their thinking. That all changed, apparently, with the firing of James Comey in May 2017 and two other actions that the president took around Comey's firing. According to the New York Times, the first action was, quote, a letter Mr. Trump wanted to send Mr. Comey about his firing, but never did, in which he mentioned the Russia investigation. In the letter, Mr. Trump thanked Mr. Comey for previously telling him he was not a subject of the FBI's Russia investigation. Now, the second event that troubled investigators was one we all watched. It was this interview with NBC News' Lester Holt, which occurred 2 days after James Comey's firing. The president said this.
So long, kid. They got to break this up because this is scathing.
Regardless of recommendation, I was going to fire Comey, knowing there was no good time to do it. And in fact, when I decided to just do it, I said to myself, I said, you know, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story.
That's in 2017. And what do we have today?
This Russia thing. Now the Times notes that special counsel Robert Mueller took over this inquiry into President Trump when he was appointed, just days after the FBI opened it, and it is unclear whether Mr. Mueller is still pursuing the counterintelligence matter. No evidence has emerged publicly that Donald Trump was secretly in contact with or took direction from the Russian government. Let's just be clear about that. But one final note that caught our eye in this bombshell New York Times report is that FBI officials felt that their decision to open a counterintelligence investigation was validated, quote, when a comment the president made to visiting Russian officials in the Oval Office shortly after he fired Mr. Comey was revealed days later. Quote,
look at this. Do you see this? You talk about espionage, or you're talking about treason? Look at this shit. Couple this together with top secret files stolen, has no intention on giving them back. This dude is so far out of pocket, and what are they doing now? Now we go back to this. Okay? Go back and look into this. What was going on throughout his presidency and before? And look at Natasha. Who is Boris and Natasha? Well, nigga, when you watch Bullwinkle, you got Boris and you got Natasha. Well, look at Melania. Is that not Natasha? Where's she from? Is she from Ukraine? I'm sure she's Slavic. She's from Russia. Okay, one of those little provinces in the USSR, the Soviet Union. That's where he got her from. And the one before that, too. What's her name? Not Marla. Not Melania. What's his daughter's name? Ivanka. Ivanka is her name. All right. Where does that come from? That comes from over there in Russia. All right. Read this. FBI open probe into whether Trump secretly worked for Russia. Look at that. That's back then. Back as far as 2016, 2017. How many years ago was that now? In 4 short months, it'll be 2023. How long does this go back? And who is he giving these top secret messages or top secret papers to? Come on. If this was a nigga, if this was a monkey boy, if this was Obama, right? Dealing with, if Obama had a Russian wife named Natasha, okay, and was saying things like whatever he said in 2016, had the FBI on him in 2017, and then the nigga was caught with top secret classified information that he stole, they would line up a firing squad and shoot that nigga in public without no trial. Okay? And that's just the truth, and you know it. All right, now, here's what's happening today. Okay? This is yesterday and today. Huge win. McCabe on Trump's special master. What the fuck? When a Negro hears special master, what does he think? Yes, a master. That's what master means. No, this is something, well, we're going to subvert the rule of law. We're going to subvert the judicial system because we have a loophole. See, they got shit in their law, in their justice system. You know what it's called? A loophole. And a loophole is where a nigga gets away with treason, espionage, murder. This nigga said I could go into Times Square and shoot somebody and they'll vote for me. This nigga said that. And right now, he's making good on it. So let's watch this and where is this going? Okay, this is a stumbling block for all that can't see it for what it is. This is straight theater. This right here, his huge win, brought the entire investigation, trial, whatever, justice to a grinding halt on some bullshit. A nigga would never, this nigga would have been dead already. Oh, he's a traitor. Pop, pop, pop. No trial. Treason. Pop, pop, pop. Espionage. Pop, pop. Crazy.
A judge today granted Donald Trump's request for a special master to review the materials the FBI seized from the extraordinary search at Mar-a-Lago. Judge Eileen Cannon writing, because of Trump's role as a former president, the stigma associated with the subject's seizure is in a league of its own. A future indictment based to any degree on property that ought to be returned would result in reputational harm of a decidedly different order of magnitude.
Did you hear that? Well, we have to stop this proceeding now because it would ruin his reputation. You see this devil? This devil is done, right? He's being laid bare right now. Everybody that sees this, watching this, are shaking their head. They know this nigga's caught. But what they're doing, they're taking him to McDonald's. This nigga done shot up the whole church after praying with him. He prayed with a bunch of niggas, shot them all dead, and they got him on camera. They got the nigga red-handed. Now they're taking him to McDonald's right now.
In a major victory for Trump, a third-party attorney outside of government will soon be tasked with sifting through thousands of documents to identify personal items and materials that could be protected by attorney-client or executive privilege.
While it does delay things and slow it down, which of course is bad for DOJ in their case, I think at the end of the day, we're not going to see a lot of documents pulled by the special master.
The judge pointing out that some of the seized materials include taxes and accounting information. The ruling allowing U.S. intelligence agencies to continue their national security damage assessment, but halting the Justice Department's criminal review of its Mar-a-Lago haul.
I don't think this has a massive impact on their investigation in the long run. If I was the prosecutor working on this case, I'd say let's just trudge forward with the special master, get through this as quickly as we can so we can move on.
Even as the judge acknowledged there was not any evidence of a callous disregard for Trump's constitutional rights, adding that Trump ultimately may not be entitled to return of much of the seized property or to prevail on his anticipated claims of privilege. That inquiry remains for another day. Meantime, Trump, speaking at his first rally since the FBI searched his resort last month.
They rifled through the First Lady's closet, drawers, and everything else, and even did a deep and ugly search of the room of my 16-year-old son. The FBI and the Justice Department have become vicious monsters, controlled by radical left scoundrels.
The former president slamming law enforcement, as high-ranking Republicans offered explanations for why Trump may have been hoarding top-secret information.
You know, I have lived in the classified world most of my professional career. I personally wouldn't do that, but I'm not the president of the United States.
And allies like South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham
What I tried to do is state the obvious.
still cleaning up his comments, warning of riots in the streets if prosecutors charged the former president.
We've had a standard set when it came to Hillary Clinton. If he does what she did with classified information and he gets prosecuted and she didn't, it will create a problem.
He said, she said. Classic. Okay? This is laughable. Completely laughable.
By the hustle.
All right, clown ass nigga. Completely laughable. So let's wrap it up. It's just crazy. Second Corinthians. We're not crazy out here, Slovakia. Spelled it wrong. Second Corinthians 2. And 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So on a larger note, whatever this drama, this dramatic back and forth, if you can't see, there's either one of two things going on. Either Trump is working with the Russians, or they've been setting this scenario up for the last 5 or 6 years to make it look like he is and get us to this moment. Okay? It's one or the other. Either he's doing this or the whole thing's a setup. Because it's been going on going way back. Right? Could they have been setting it up to make it look like this, to get it to this point, to stretch it out? What would be the reason for the special master? Okay? Well, they're not ready to move. They're not ready to move forward, so they need to stall for a little while. Put it on ice for a minute until they're ready. And then they'll strike down the ruling, put him back in court, and get this thing popping. Okay? Why? Because we're not ignorant of his devices. We understand what is going on right now. Whatever the fuck this is, not this nigga. This special master, it's all a bunch of bullshit. What are they trying to achieve? Or what is the Most High doing? Here's the question. What's the Most High doing? This is the setup for this. And it's easy. We want these things to happen because we're that much closer. When you see these tokens, you know, hey, Yahushua is knocking at the door. Isaiah 19:2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. This is all about left against right, black against white, Egyptians against the Egyptians, Babylonians against the Babylonians, all right? Sodomites against the Sodomites, all right? And they shall fight everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city and kingdom against kingdom. This word Egyptian, right? It's talking about the Americans because America is spiritually known as Sodom and Egypt in the scriptures. All right? We'll end on that. Revelation 11 and 8. And their dead bodies, whose dead bodies? Israel, shall lie in the street of the great city. What great city? Babylon the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. Babylon the great city, right, is not Iraq. It's America. Ancient Babylon is Iraq. Babylon the Great is talking about America, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. Okay? So this is talking about America, right? Which spiritually is known as Egypt. So when you go back here, go back to Isaiah, when you read it again, and I will set the Americans against the Americans. Because America, Babylon the Great, is spiritually known as Sodom and Egypt. All right? So with that, we hope that the elect will edify you, brothers and sisters. With that, we're going to say shalom.